First thing on the agenda, it's not on there. Rob's on the phone. I'd like a motion and a second to let him attend. Brian, second. Phil, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried unanimously. You're on the voted in, Rob. Thank you. We got the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion for that? Brian, second. Brandy. Okay, is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Okay, motion carried unanimously. We're going on to the informational items now. I don't think there's anybody here with the ETSB, is there? Okay, we'll move on to the Public Defender report. Nate?
I'd like to make a weak attempt at humor and say that I didn't submit a report because I knew we'd be running behind today, but I'll have this month's information, or October and November, presented next month, and I'm hoping to have some year-over-year information as well, just for everyone to take a look at. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Nate today? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we got the FY21 budget amendment for the JDC Kitchen Grant Remodel Grant. Scott, you're going to take that?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this was a resolution at Mr. Salzer's committee yesterday, and it came out of his committee unanimously. The resolution does two things. The first is it accepts and makes the appropriation for a grant from the USDA that is the original source, but it's coming through the State Board of Education, and the grant program is the National School Lunch Program. The funding is $38,456. So the first part of the resolution accepts that grant and appropriates the spending authority for that grant. The second part of the resolution is a bid award to Culinary Depot of Spring Valley, New York, with Rural Mechanical locally doing the installation for the replacement of a variety of kitchen equipment for the JDC kitchen. Most of that equipment is original. It includes a variety of commercial equipment. I don't have the specific list in front of me. The installation is not covered by the grant. Only the capital cost of the equipment is covered by the grant. The JDC in their current year operational budget will cover the installation cost. Now, just a little bit of a confusion yesterday in terms of the total project versus what was bid for the installation. The rural bid $9,500 for installation. The portion of the project not covered by the grant is $12,000, just a shade under $12,700. It's that $12,700 number that the JDC will be able to cover in their existing spending authority without any budget amendment. So the budget amendment is strictly limited to the grant itself. I know Mr. Salzer's here as the committee chair, so I'm happy to answer any questions any of you may have, and I'm sure Mr. Salzer can also do that as well.
Okay, then this will put our JDC kitchen up to the code or standard of the health department where we need to be at.
So it's mostly a life cycle replacement for some of that commercial kitchen equipment. The equipment that's in the JDC is original to the construction from the late 90s. And for the past several years, pre-COVID, the JDC was actually contracting, in a sense, with the kitchen at the jail and the sheriff's office to provide food to the juveniles that are in detention. With COVID, they've had to change their procedures a little bit, and I know Mr. Bronke is here in the audience, and so if there's questions about details of how that works, I'm sure he could respond to that. But the grant, they had a need to update the equipment. They found a grant to fund the overwhelming majority of that cost, and that's what the action item does.
Does that mean they won't need that van that we bought a couple years ago to haul it back and forth?
Mr. Chairman, that's a great question. Not to put Mr. Bronke on the spot, but that's probably a question best answered by him.
This live? Yeah. So the original design of the kitchen, oops, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pulled this out. I'm just gonna do this. So the original design of the kitchen at the JDC was not a fully functional kitchen. It was a service kitchen. They were able to do rinse cycles with trays, but there was no food preparation capabilities at the detention center. So once COVID hit, and we've always had a partnership with the jail to provide our meals, we ran into some logistical issues of continuing food service amidst the pandemic. It kind of exposed us. We were providing meals by simply going to Walmarts and community grocery stores to feed our population because of some of the restrictions that had to be put in place at the jail. This prompted us looking into alternatives. This grant money became available. So basically, we are replacing some equipment, but more importantly, we are upgrading to more of a full-service kitchen in the event that we run into situations where food service has to be suspended for a matter of this. And since the grant money was available, it seemed to be the most opportune time to do those upgrades. We don't at this time have any plans. We don't have staffing to prepare meals or a food budget to purchase our meals and then prepare them all on site there. So we plan on continuing our relationship with the sheriff as long as they'll have us. It's easier because it's produced on a bigger scale than what we're capable of doing, and the food van is the only way to get the food back and forth.
Okay, so this is just more to keep you where you can, if we get or in the same situation with the COVID or whatever, you can feed everybody and not but you'll still be going along with the sheriff.
That was the driver behind applying for the grant funds. The health department did not certify us as being a service kitchen in its current state. In order to become that and be recognized as a facility that could actually prepare meals there, not in the fashion that we were doing for several months, we had to make this upgrade.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Phil, you got anything you want to add to it?
Not necessarily, but you could see what items that they're going to have. They're going to have an oven, a countertop stove, countertop griddle, equipment stand, a refrigerated base, and an exhaust hood. So the exhaust hood tells me that there may be a future there.
Well, thank you. Brian, go ahead.
I'm just always appreciative when our employees are on top of the opportunities when these grants are available, because if we don't get them, somebody else is.
This is true. We thank you for seeing the need and the opportunity to get the money. Anybody else have any comments they'd like to make on this? Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're on resolutions. The first one's appropriation of unanticipated expenses related to COVID-19 pandemic. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor in a second? Eden, second. Sharon, okay. Sheriff, are you taking, oh, Doug, you're taking care of this one? Thank you.
Randy's unavailable today, so I'll brief this particular one. What this is this is a request for $95,000 in unanticipated COVID-19 pandemic expenses that have occurred throughout 2021 that were not originally included in the 2021 budget. Some of those items would be the disposable food supplies, because we can't serve trays out of potential contamination issues. We've had to hire additional nursing students to help supplement our current medical contract for the jail facility, as well as having to outsource jail laundry that used to be done within inside. We believe that these are eligible expenses for FEMA reimbursement, and Randy's been working with Brian Goley at the Health Department to submit for this to be reimbursed, and so what we're just doing is asking to see if the board would be willing to appropriate the value of $95,000 related to this so that we could then submit this for reimbursement.
Okay, do we have any questions for Doug on this? Any questions? Alrighty, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Next on the list is ILEAS Air Support Vehicle Agreement. Can I have a motion to put that on? Phil, second. Sharon, okay. Doug, are you taking that one? Okay,
Yes, I
go
will.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a reminder, here in Peoria County, there are two tactical teams that the sheriff has tactical command over. One is called the Central Illinois Emergency Response Team, which manages critical incidents in the Tri-County area, Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford. We also have the tactical command over the ILEAS team, which is the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System, Weapons of Mass Destruction Special Response Team, and that's an asset to the state of Illinois, and we're in Region 6, basically the central part of Illinois. We've been a part of this for several years, and the benefits of this is that ILEAS many times has the funding opportunities to purchase things that we couldn't afford locally. And then we're also allowed to use this ILEAS equipment for CERT-related functions as well. In this particular case, this is a 2009 International Durastar air truck, and what that is it's basically a box truck. There's some photos, I believe, in your packet. And inside this box truck is basically a large compressor with a lot of storage capability, and then it has basically some lines or some whips on the back end of this. And what this does is there's these tanks, they're called self-contained breathing apparatuses. And they're tactical in nature. They basically allow our TAC team members to enter environments where there's a low oxygen environment, potentially a biohazard environment, or some other type of significant contaminant. We had a case recently where CERT went into a case where we had knowledge that there was a high fentanyl concentration. And as you know about the fentanyl overdoses and the potential for death, those type of things, they use these particular self-contained breathing apparatuses to make that entry safely. What this truck does is not only give us the capability to refill these tanks on site rather than have to refill them at a remote location, it actually allows with these whips or these lines to actually draw those lines into the hot environment, so to speak. So if there was a contamination that already occurred and we're working with an incident, we can refill those tanks on site without having to decon the gentleman to come out, re-gear them up, resupply them, and go back in. And so it just makes the job much more efficient. It's a little safer. What the agreement does is it still remains ILEAS's vehicle, but what we agree to do is provide the general maintenance to it, the oil changes, the tires, the gas, those type of things, and then it houses here locally and centralized for us, and then is also an asset if it's needed throughout the state to support any of the other teams. If it gets called up under an Illinois emergency, then obviously we relinquish the liability of the damages that goes to it. It's just only when we're using it for our local services. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Doug? Steve?
I guess any manpower adjustments or certifications or anything we need to have in place to properly utilize this vehicle and the services with it?
No, the team is already trained on the use of filling the tanks. We just had to do that at a different facility, whether it be a fire department or those type of things. And as far as the management and the training of the trucks, the teams have worked together in cooperation with other teams utilizing this vehicle in training exercises. So they're very well familiar with the use of the truck. The reason the truck has actually come into Peoria County, I should have mentioned this earlier, is it was originally housed down in Springfield. Springfield had the Illinois Region 6 team, but because of staffing and manpower issues, most of that team was made up of the entire Springfield Police Department rather than being distributed locally to other jurisdictions, like our team is made up by a multi-jurisdictional team. As a result of those staffing issues and problems that they were running into, they've dissolved that team. So we're the only Central Illinois team, and that's why it's getting moved as a request to go from Springfield to us, to still remain centrally located in the state.
So if we get a call from anywhere in central Illinois, our people hop on the truck and go, right?
If it's in any kind of any type of critical incident in Peoria, Woodford, and Tazewell, the CERT team will manage it, which is us.
Okay.
If it's an emergency that is activated that requires a state emergency that would activate the Illinois law enforcement alarm system, then yes, it could activate the Illinois law enforcement alarm system. Generally speaking, the state police handles the majority that comes in, but this could be a large scale event to where we could have an activation. There could be a situation where different type of major events that's going to draw a large crowd where they put them on standby and send them there. We went to Chicago on a few of these different events where that's possible. This is very similar to the Bearcat that you approved. If you recall the armored vehicle, it just has a different functionality to the team. It's a very similar agreement.
So you guys are excited about getting it? It's not,
Any time that we can get equipment that's paid for somebody else and have it easily accessible to us to make our jobs more efficient, absolutely.
that's what we needed to hear. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Next on resolutions, we got the FY22 Redeploy Illinois Planning Grant. Who's taking that one? Okay. First, I need a motion. Brian, a second. Brandy, okay. Now we can go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In an effort to enhance the professional development program of probation and court services, I'm going to have Erica Cornejo, my probation supervisor, take this item.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. So, like it says on our proposal that we submitted, Peoria County Juvenile Probation is in receipt of a $25,000 grant from Redeploy Illinois. So what this does is this is the beginning phase of the grant process. This allows us to participate in the planning grant process. So there's no matching of funds, nothing like that. IDHS has awarded us the $25,000. In the back of what we've submitted, there's a breakdown of what we'd like to use it for. We would meet with stakeholders involved in the community to try to come up with evidence-based services for our clients. It would be specifically targeted toward youth who have the possibility of going to the Department of Juvenile Justice, IDJJ. And in this stage, all we would be doing is exploring the possibility of participating in the grant. Peoria County Juvenile Probation has previously participated in the Redeploy Illinois grant. We stopped it for a little bit, and there have been some structural changes within the grant itself, and that has sparked our interest, and we'd like to explore if we'd like to become a redeploy site again. This process, the planning grant portion, would take about 6 months. Our intention would be that if we are going to participate in the grant fully, apply for the full actual grant, then we would do so before July of 2022.
Do you have any questions for Erica? Eden?
Pardon my ignorance. What is the redeploy program?
Sure. No. Redeploy Illinois, what the target is to focus on youth who are eligible for the Department of Juvenile Justice, so basically a commitment to juvenile prison, to just put it that way. It is focused on coming up with community-based services that are intensive services that other youth who are put on probation might not have access to. So we would be able to contract with really whoever we wanted. So the purpose of this portion of the grant is to explore who would we like to partner with, who can offer services that we believe would help the youth of our county that they're not currently receiving, so that if they were placed in this program, they could receive those services. It's all throughout the state of Illinois. We are really one of the largest counties with more commitments than a lot of other counties that currently does not participate in this program. And it's really, the focus is providing extra community-based services to try to decrease the amount of kids going to prison.
Any other questions? Okay. We'll go for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried unanimously. Last on our resolutions, we have the state's attorney's appellate prosecutor authorization FY 2022. Can I have a motion to put that on the agenda? Brian, second? Eden? Okay, and Jenny, she's taking that one? Okay,
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Mr. Chairman?
yes, we can.
Okay. This item has to do with the state's attorney's use of the Illinois State Appellate Prosecutor. So there's a state agency, the Office of Appellate Prosecutor, that handles appeals in the criminal cases that come out of the state's attorney's office. Most everything gets appealed when there's a conviction, and so I believe the numbers would be that there would be 3 extra attorneys needed in the Peoria County State's Attorney's Office if we handled our own appeals. Rather, we participate in this appellate prosecutor program where the state provides that appellate legal work for us. So the budgeted amount for the year was $37,000, I believe, and the state did a 1-year decrease, so it's actually going to be $36,000. It's already budgeted for, so it's not an appropriation ask. It's to approve the participation in the appellate prosecutor program. So there's a resolution that the state requires. They provided the resolution wording, and we just have to get that passed by the board in order to participate in the program. So that's the vote.
Okay, any questions for Jenny on this motion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, we're up to miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything for miscellaneous to bring up today? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.